Hey everyone, this is Mike, and welcome to the second session of Logotherapy, Logotherapy Session 2. I think it's been over 2 years since the first session, so we've had to cover a lot in that first. That first session can take a while. So it's been a while since I've gotten back to this, but I've really been very interested in logotherapy. I've been training in logotherapy, and through an institute and through self-training. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I have had some training in positive psychology and in reality therapy with William Glasser. And positive psychology talks about, if you read Martin Seligman, Authentic Happiness, he talks about having a pleasant life in which people maximize the pleasures in life, relationships, friendships, beauty, hot shower, glass of wine in the evening, walks in nature. But he says that those are pleasant moments in the moment, and we feel them, but they're relatively fleeting. They don't last beyond the moment very much. Then there's living the good life, and this is where he talks about having, using your character strengths, your virtues, leadership, kindness, forgiveness, mercy, justice, prudence. Each of us has top character strengths, and the application of those strengths in life is to help us be as happy as we possibly can, because these are parts of us that are so core to who we are as human beings that we wouldn't be who we are without them. And so once we identify what our core strengths are, using them, operationalizing them as often as possible is crucial. And he calls that living the good life. So you have the pleasant life, maximizing the felt pleasures, the good life, using your character strengths, and then he talks about the meaningful life, the application of your character strengths to something greater than yourself. So even in positive psychology, particularly with Martin Seligman, there is a component of meaning in your life. William Glasser talked about having needs. These are similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, except for Glasser it wasn't a hierarchy. And there's need for love and belonging, for power, for freedom, for fun, for survival. He didn't have one specifically for meaning. Several people that have followed him have added that, although he did incorporate meaning into the power need. By power he meant just feeling productive, accomplished, successful. But I created a final category of the need for meaning and purpose in life, as have other followers of Glasser. But again, the need for meaning and purpose is important even in reality therapy and choice theory. So many of the theories that I follow, Seligman, Glasser, and of course CBT with Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck, there is a component of meaning. And so logotherapy and more broadly existential therapy fits right in. So in the second session, the first one was basically getting an overview, doing an intake. The second is I want to identify what values a person has, because those are the ones that we're going to lead them to. What is important to them? So I do give a number of assessments, and there's a couple of things I look at in the second session. You can use a more formal assessment. For example, I know people use the values assessments. There's the Myers-Briggs. A lot of corporations use values as a 360, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. As long as you feel comfortable with those, I think that's a great way to find out what a person's core values and beliefs are, because that's what we want to shoot for. Martin Seligman in Authentic Happiness has an assessment, and there's a website, and I'm going to put it in the description, where a person can go and identify their top character strengths. It's called the VIA Survey of Character Strengths, and I will put in the link to that website. It's free. I think you have to register. He's kind of collecting data, but it's free. But it identifies people's top strengths. And the application of those strengths in all areas of life is the closest we will have to some kind of fulfillment and purpose and meaning and happiness that we possibly can. So I will include that. But you want to help people clarify what their character strengths, their values, their beliefs, what motivates them, what they find meaningful. Now with William Glasser, if you read his book Choice Theory, and he talks about, again, the needs. He identifies 5 needs. The need for survival, that's safety, security, stability, physical survival for the most part. The need for love and belonging, that's intimate, love and friendship. the need for power, which, as I mentioned, is being productive, accomplished, successful, achieving things. The need for fun and leisure, that he includes learning in that. Learning is supposed to be fun. Remember when we were kids, we always loved learning. And then the need for freedom, feeling as if we have some independence and autonomy, that we have choices in life. And again, those are the five, and I've added the six among other followers of his. I separate the meaning and purpose from power, which is where Glasser usually put it, and I created its own separate category of meaning and purpose in life. Now the thing is, it's not just the categories, right? So among those six categories, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, you say, well, what is the person's need level? Well, I need, on a scale of 10, I have a 9 for love and belonging. And so if I have a 9 in love and belonging, and right now I say, well, where am I at? Well, I'm at a 3. My need for love and belonging is a 9, but I don't have a lot of friends, I'm not in a relationship, so I'm at a 3. Well, that's a problem. There's a big gap between what you need and what you have. There are some people who feel as if they don't have any greater purpose or meaning in life. I disagree, but I don't fight them on it. I agree with Frankl that there's a will to meaning. And whether people admit it or not, there is a desire and drive to have meaning and purpose in their life. And some people will say, no, there isn't. We're here and that's it, it's the end of it. I don't agree. I think we all, as human beings, have a drive for meaning and purpose. But I don't argue with people on it. Either they'll come to it on their own or they won't, at least not now, and that's okay. But again, I do believe there is that need. So let's say a person has, on a scale of 0 to 10, or 1 to 10, an 8 for meaning and purpose. And there are many people that do have a desire for meaning, and many younger people today have a desire for meaning and purpose. They want purpose in their life from the beginning. They don't want to just wait until, maybe they hit the midlife crisis, or when they get older. They want meaning and purpose from the beginning. They don't want to just make money, although that is important to them, but they also want more of a social conscience. And so if a person's need for meaning and purpose is at an 8, and they're in a job that they just feel is meaningless, and so they're at a 2, again, that's a big gap. It's a big gap between where they are and what they want. So you ask people within this category, what is their level of need for this, and where are they at? But it's not just the category. You don't just call it the category meaning and purpose. People have an image of what that looks like, just like with the other categories, love and belonging or power. Well, what does that mean? Well, I picture myself with a group of friends, and we're going out to dinner, we're at the movies, we travel, we're on vacation, I'm sitting on the couch with my loved one, we're holding hands and watching a movie. We have a picture of what that means. For meaning and purpose, I'm in a charity, I'm helping nature, I'm cleaning up the environment, I'm fighting for a social cause. It's not just the category, it's what we think about when we think of that category. And what we're doing is we're always comparing that image to the real world. And the greater the gap, the more distress we feel. So in the second session, I really want to understand what a person's values are, what their purpose is, what their meanings are, values are, character strengths. And there's a number of assessments and questions that I ask to determine that, and the pictures that go along with it. I don't necessarily have any particular one that I would necessarily advocate for. There's several. Again, my background is CBT, REBT, Albert Ellis, Aaron Beck, positive psychology with Martin Seligman, reality therapy, choice theory with William Glasser. I also like solution-focused therapy as well, and of course, logotherapy. So that's how I spend the bulk of the second session. Of course, if we didn't get everything done in the first session with the intake, then we continue that in the second. But the second thing that I do is I want to find out to what extent some of the interventions we use in logotherapy the client is going to be comfortable with. So for example, the paradoxical intention. So if in that intervention we help people go to their fears and the anxieties. A lot of people have behaviors that are not supportive of what they want. So you have a particular goal, right? What is a client's goal for therapy, and what's the goal for that session? Or maybe there was some adversity they had, and what's their goal? A lot of times people don't even realize it. And just to give a silly example, let's say a person's in traffic and they're stuck in traffic and it's causing stress and anxiety. Well, what's their goal vis-a-vis the traffic? If their goal is to end all traffic, well, good luck with that. But if their goal is to manage their emotions while in traffic, that we can do. But just getting clarity on that. What's the goal? What's their goal in anything that they're looking at? Okay? And then we shoot for that, right? But then after the goal, how are we going to get there? So I look for the situation they're looking for help in, and then what is their goal? Right. Then when we look at what are they doing to get to that goal? And I look at 4 categories, and this is from choice theory as well, also multimodal therapy from Arnold Lazarus. So what are they doing to achieve that goal that's not working? What are they thinking? What are some actions? What is their emotion? And what is their physiology? And if they're feeling depressed or anxious, that's not the emotion they want to feel. Maybe they'd rather feel concern or calm or even neutral. But they're feeling anxious. Well, what are they thinking, doing, and what is their body doing that's contributing to that anxiety or depression? Well, I'm thinking how stupid I am. Well, that's not working. My heart rate is beating a mile a minute, or my breathing is labored. Well, that's not good. Let's see if we can control the breathing. Take some deep breathing or do some muscle relaxation. And what are your actions? And there tend to be 4 actions that are not that good. There's avoidant behavior. There's clingy, needy, dependent behavior. There's distracting behavior, a lot of social media. And then there's self-sabotaging. And very often that's drugs and alcohol, among others. I don't want to limit this. But we want to move them to something productive. What are they doing that's going to help them achieve their goal? And so I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say someone has social anxiety and they want to go to a party or neighborhood bar, and they're thinking to themselves, I'm not going to go because no one's going to like me, no one's going to talk to me. Maybe they even imagine themselves sitting alone in the corner by themselves, right? And let's say we challenge those thoughts, right? And we realize that they're fortune telling, they're mind reading, we don't know what's going to happen. And let's say we successfully do that. And they say, I don't know what's going to happen. And so why stress myself out? Okay. Even if they successfully do that and they say, you know what, I'm feeling better now, I'm feeling calmer. But what are you actually doing? Well, I'm still sitting at home. I changed my thoughts. My thoughts were really self-defeating, but I'm continuing to stay at home by myself. Well, no, now you have to take an action. Now you have to go to that bar. I mean, it's great that you changed your thoughts, but if you're still sitting at home, you want to pair an action with the thoughts, right? So you change your negative thoughts, but then you have to take an action that moves you in the direction you want to go, and that is a productive behavior. So again, we want people to do things that are productive. Now, the reason I'm saying this, of course, is paradoxical intention, is you do the thing you fear. So I want to assess whether or not a person is willing to challenge their fears. Have they challenged their fears? Now, to the extent that a person feels comfortable doing that, I want to assess. If a person is more comfortable challenging, leaning into the anxiety or the fear, the depression, they engage in productive behaviors as opposed to avoidant or self-sabotaging. And you can question them about this. In the past, how have you done things? Have you been comfortable challenging yourself, or have you avoided it? So you can just kind of get an assessment in the second session how likely they are to engage in paradoxical intention. Similarly, with the whether or not they can engage in dereflection. So a lot of times, dereflection can be confused for distraction. But remember, dereflection is reflecting it off of you onto something greater than yourself, someone else, something more or better. It's not just a distraction like social media. Can you focus on the people in your life or the job or something, again, productive as opposed to avoidant? Not distracting for the sake of being distracted, but to doing something productive and helpful for you. So you want to assess how comfortable a person is doing that. The Socratic method is, again, also used as a technique in logotherapy, and you want to assess the ability of a person to self-reflect and have self-awareness. You can ask them questions very often from solution-focused therapy. When were there times when something positive happened? When were there exceptions to the negative thing happening? If a miracle happened and the problem you came in for was solved, how would you know it? You can ask these questions and heading into a more positive direction as opposed to a negative direction. And then finally, creating some distance between you and the problem. This is changing of attitude. Gaining some distance from the situation. changing the attitude. This is a very often cognitive behavioral therapy. Where's the evidence for this belief? What can be an alternative possibility? What would you say to a friend? Are there exceptions to this? Is it true that it really is as awful as you think it is? We're catastrophizing. So again, during the second session, I want to assess a person's values, their character strengths, their beliefs, their views of things. I want to get a clear picture on what having a meaningful and purposeful life is. And I want to probe a little bit as I use some logotherapy interventions. Are they ready for it? Can they do it? Do I need to prep them a little bit? And again, finish the intake if I hadn't during the first session. So we're going to get a little bit more. This is the second session. Now the remaining of the sessions is I'm taking the 16-session approach. So from 3 to 15, I'll be talking about next time. And of course, the last one, the 16, is termination and ending, closure. So I look forward to seeing you in that, the next video. I also have, by the way, a book that I self-published. It's on Amazon, at Kindle. I think it's like $2.99 or something like that. It's you can get it through Kindle or a hard copy. But it outlines my view to having a meaningful life. I call it a higher purpose. And I include logotherapy, CBT, positive psychology, solution focused, even philosophical counseling. CBT is very with some stoicism. But it is heavily on having a meaningful life. So I'll put the link to that as well if you're interested. All right, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.